people. Welcome to our first episode of Serving Up Realness. This podcast is really, for me, gives me a chance and opportunity to answer questions that I get either in the comment section or those that are sent to me via email. And so what I decided to do is just kind of grab a handful of them because they're the kind of questions that I get over and over again. And so I'm going to tackle a few today. So one of the questions that I get is, why focus on the Black community? Why not focus on the entire gay community or the gay community as a whole? And I think, just consciously, I made a choice that I wanted to increase the visibility of Black LGBTQ, same gender loving in the life people. I'm not doing that to exclude anybody, but I just wanted to, as they say, kind of have a singular focus. I think trying to meet the needs of everybody in the community can be really challenging, and I knew I only had a little bit of I only have a small amount of time. Also, I felt like our community, even for all those websites and all those podcasts and all those other media entities that deal with the entire gay community, that we weren't very present or visible. So I said, well, why don't I just create something? And so again, first and foremost, I just want to say it's not to be exclusionary. It's just more to focus on, I think, a part of the community that doesn't get a lot of visibility. And I think also too, I'm just speaking to what I know. I can't say I know everything about the entire gay and lesbian community. I know a little bit about, I can't say I know everything about being a Black LGBTQ, same gender loving in a life person as well. But I know some things. And I've been out in the community, for, over 15 years, probably closer to 20, but don't tell nobody. So for my next question, let's see. The person is saying, I kind of don't understand all this lingo. I understand what LGBT means, but I don't understand Q or in the life or same gender loving. Okay, I think that's a fair question because I think a lot of times we do use these terms kind of just unconsciously. I mean, it's habit. I mean, it's what we've heard, so that's what we repeat. And I forget that sometimes people really don't understand what these terms are. So I'll start with Q. The Q means queer. Q can also mean questioning. Like if you're a kind of person where you kind of don't really know what your sexual orientation is, you're kind of questioning. Sometimes people will consider Q questioning. But for the most part, I think Q generally stands for queer. And that, for me, queer is what I consider an all-encompassing term. It is meant to include everybody, really including straight people. It's one of those terms that the gay community took from mainstream and empowered it with a new definition that was more positive. Because if you think about it, queer before used to have a kind of negative connotation. It was like, oh, you're queer. If you read Old English or old literature, it'll have, queer is kind of this term to say something was odd or freakish or different. And mostly it was meant very negatively. And so I think what has happened is the community has said, look, okay, we are queer, we are different, we are odd, we are freakish, whatever you want to say. And those things don't have to be negative things. Those things can just be part of what makes us unique. And I think what I like about the term queer is that I think it's sex positive. I feel like it's gender positive. I feel like it also includes this idea of kind of gender fluidity, sexual fluidity, meaning that when you're queer, it's kind of like you don't have to put yourself in one of the LGBT boxes. You could just be queer. So again, I would say I'm probably more queer than I am when I always say I'm bisexual, because I feel like there are times when I identified as straight and I felt like I was straight and that's what I was. And then there were times when I identified as lesbian and I was a lesbian and that's what I was. And so, but now I kind of have what I consider more sexual fluidity. And so I'm probably just more queer, because queer doesn't mean I have to be in any particular box. And also what I like about the word queer, for those people that are into kind of the intellectual aspect of the term, is that it also includes straight people or asexual people or different kinds of sexuality people. It just, for me, it's an all-encompassing term. It's supposed to be expansive, it's supposed to be comprehensive, and it's supposed to just include everybody, and also include those people that don't want to put themselves in a box. Look, I'm queer, just deal with it. Figure out what that queer means. And so that's generally what Q means. Now, in the life, I'll start with in the life because I like that term. When I was coming out, when I was younger, in the life for me, and let me say this, I could be completely wrong. I heard the use of in the life in the Black community. And for me, it was code. It was like, are you in the life? And of course, I didn't know what that meant. And of course, I said yes, because I wanted to be in the life. But for me, a lot of times, in the life was like, are you gay? You know, are you lesbian or whatever? And so I felt like it was code for Black people. That's what we use with each other. Like, are you in the life? And if you didn't know what that meant, you probably weren't in the life, although you probably could be. And I just remember it being, I felt like it was like a very cool thing to be in the life. And so when I think back, I'm so silly. But in the life for me means like, are you part of the gay and lesbian community? And you have to understand that before all this gay visibility, there was a time when people like really couldn't talk about this. And so there were lots of codes, you know. I think there's some term that gay men use about Judy from The Wizard of Oz. Okay, since I don't know what the term is and I can't speak to it, never mind. Anyways, so, you know, in the life for me was code. I feel like it was in the Black community. I'm not suggesting that it wasn't used in the white community, but I don't know. I just remember it with other Black folks. So forgive me if I'm wrong. And if I am wrong, please let me know. Feel free to like post comments, you know, to tell me where the term came from, where it originated, you know, what communities used it, which ones didn't. Because I, you know, even, you know, like I said, I can only tell you what I know. And so that's where in the life came from. And then there's same gender loving. Again, I feel like same gender loving is another one of our own, one of those terms that we created in the Black community, to kind of just say, look, I love the same gender. And also what I really love about same gender loving is that it's so, for me, it's so positive and more empowering. Because it's saying, look, I love another person, you know, and that the base of what's happening with this connection is love, and that it just happens to be that the person is the same gender. So I'm kind of really in love with same gender loving, which is why I kind of always use it. You know, people say, well, why do you use the LGBTQ in the life, same gender loving? Because I feel like I want to include as many people as I can in my community and say that we're all in this together. It's not, you know, it's meant to be inclusive, not to be exclusive. And again, same gender loving could be used in the white community. I do not know. I just know these are the terms that I've come across, and I've come across quite a few others. I just think they're not as widely used, but these are the ones that seem to pop up over and over again. There seems to be some common knowledge about them and common usage about them. So these are the ones that I know, and these are the ones that I use. If there are others, please let me know, and I'm more than happy to add them in the string of terms because it's not exhaustive for me to say all that. I want to say all that because I honor and respect you, and I feel like wherever you are on this spectrum, I just want to say, look, I get it, and I want you to know that I'm speaking to you too. So same gender loving is for me a term that's used in the Black community, and I just think it's really positive. I will say this, I get the feeling that I could be wrong. I feel like Cleo Monago maybe created this term, and I could be wrong. But you know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm gonna do some research to try to figure out what that is, and then I'll answer that in the next episode. But yeah, so that's what the terms mean. You can use whichever ones you want to use or use none. Again, a lot of times these terms come up because people just like, can I get something that doesn't feel so, you know, so claustrophobic, you know, a term that doesn't, you know, people want terms that kind of allow them to be more unique and not feel like I'm in this really little tiny box and this is all I am. You know, people want to say I'm more than that, or I'm more complex than that, or, you know, how I'm expressing myself it doesn't just lend itself to one term. So I could probably preach on this all day, so I'm gonna go ahead and stop. Don't get it twisted. All right, let me get on to this last question. This last question was kind of weird, and I forgot it. Oh my God, so many times, and I'm just kind of like, I'm confused why people would come to me with this question. But all right, I'm going to talk to you, family, about it. Why doesn't the asexual community fit into your category? You know, I think that what I love about the gay community is that it's all encompassing. It really does bring everybody together. You know what I love about the gay community is that, you know, it is all encompassing. We have a tendency to bring everybody into our community. You know, we're so accepting, you know, we're so like, look, this thing called sexual orientation, it is complex, you know, and it has many dimensions. You know, there are times when I feel very asexual. Now that's only because I'm being celibate, and y'all don't need to know all that right now. But what I will say is this: I embrace you as asexual. And if you find safety here, then I'm glad for that, because I want you to feel good about who you are. I get that people are born into this world and they just don't ever have that angst or need or desire to be sexual. I can't imagine it, because I'm all the way on the other side. Like, I can't imagine living without sex. However, I'm old enough and I'm wise enough to know now that, look, you know, some people, you know, I mean, I think I've met some asexual people, and it wasn't so much I was offended or I felt there was any problem with them. I was like, oh, they really just don't have that feeling, because, you know, for me, it's all about vibe and energy and chemistry. And so if you ain't got the vibe, the energy, and the chemistry around the sex, I mean, I'm kind of like, I'm like, okay. I'm just knowing that sex ain't gonna happen, and that's okay. Although I was probably wanting to have sex, but anyways, never mind. That's not the point. The point is that that's just how you are experiencing your beingness in the world, and it's okay to be asexual. I mean, it's just, you know, this is what I love about God. God made billions and billions of people, and we're all unique and special and different. I mean, this is how awesome God is. Like, we all have our own unique fingerprint. That, oh my goodness, oh my God, that's just, how can you be so creative that you would create every person to have their own unique fingerprint? And if I have my own unique fingerprint, then guess what? It's probably other unique about me. My mannerisms, my personality, my style, my sense of being, my sexual orientation. If my fingerprints are unique, then there's probably a whole lot of things about me that are unique. So being asexual could be one of those unique characteristics that we as human beings have. And I'm not saying you're not a part of this community, because I accept you wholly as you are. And if you want me to talk more about those kind of things, I will. So feel free to kind of send me an email, or just, sorry for the snizzles today, y'all. You know, just, yeah, your family here. You're all right. You're safe here. And I will always affirm and support that kind of identity, because I do believe it's real, and I do believe that you're a valued member of the world at large. You're a human value all the time. All right, family. So those are a couple of the questions that I thought I would answer today. If you have other questions for me, feel free to put them in the comment section below, or feel free to send me an email. You can send an email charlotte@comingoutblack.com, or you can send an email to SUR, which is really the letters for Serving Up Realness, @comingoutblack.com. And I will, on my next episodes, do my best to share some of my insight or craziness, whichever you prefer to call it. And so until next time, just know that you are perfect, whole, and complete. Peace and much love, family, and take care. See you next time.